This video will literally save you thousands and loads of headaches. I literally just came up with this idea. I just went to take a piss, and while I was taking a piss, this idea just came up, so I'm recording it now. So there's three criterias that you should look into when you invest into a guru. Number one is their follower count. Don't invest into gurus who are most likely, I say 90% of the time, don't invest into gurus with high following count. There's many reasons to this, one being they're way ahead of you in steps. Actually, let me sit here. So, like I was saying, in their eyes, for someone that's got loads of followers, they're so high up. So compared to you, you're down here. Something when they're creating content and they find it valuable, in your eyes, it's not. It's just way ahead. So to a degree, they're delusional. They don't know what the people at the bottom are struggling with to be able to get them up a few steps. Another one is simply because how much they value that money. For example, let's say you had two guys. One guy was just had loads of followers, 100,000 followers plus, and there's another guy with 1K followers. Now they're both successful in their business, right? And if you were to pay the famous guy 1K, he'll value that less. Or if you were to pay it to someone with, let's say, 1K subs, they'll value that much more. So people only give you value based on the exchange of money. So obviously, if you pay someone 10K, they'll give you more value than 1K. But in this scenario, you're paying 1K, and it's just what they value that 1K. So the guy with loads of followers wouldn't really value 1K that much compared to someone that's with only like 1K subs. They'll value that much more, so they're willing to provide much more value. You could argue the guy with loads of followers has more experience, has been in the game longer, but then again, like I said, a lot of times what I found is they're delusional. I've invested probably around 15 to 20K worth of courses, and if you ask me, the best course I got that got me like at least a 20 to 30x is from a YouTuber that was just up and coming. Right now, it's probably got like 30K subs, but at the time, he had maybe a few thousand at max. So I'm talking about this is better than the courses from the big guys with a few hundred thousand and millions of followers. You probably know who I'm on about. Keep in mind that course was worth 3 times less than the one that the top guru was selling, and it had like 10 times more value. More specifically, it understood where I was at my steps, especially as a rookie and someone just starting out, compared to the guy at the top. He completely missed loads of steps, especially for a rookie. But if you're not, then you could still see his course is valuable if you're not a complete newbie and you don't know, and if you know what you're doing. But even then, it's still overrated and overvalued by a lot. So in a sense, you could say they're less down to earth. And it's been a long time since they experienced the struggles that you're experiencing at the bottom. Now for the second criteria is just make sure they're good at coaching. Coaching and actually running something yourself is two completely different things. It's like a boxer, for example. You could be good at boxing but completely trash at teaching people how to box. It's a whole different ball game. So in this context, when it comes to teaching, you just gotta be concise, be able to structure things properly, and just keep everything, coherent and efficient, just easy to learn. They pretty much have to explain everything from A to Z and make sure there's no tables on time. Wrong switch. There we go. Now, number three, this one's more optional, but if they have a family, in my opinion, they're more likely to be reliable. Just mainly because they've experienced teaching, especially when it comes to kids, teaching and how to actually like raise and grow and just nurture someone overall. They also have this much higher sense of caring than those that don't have a family, in my opinion. And also, I would say if they're religious, could be a point, but at this point, loads of people are just religious and they talk shit. They don't really practice what they teach, and they just complete liars, pretty much. So, for this, I'd rather replace it with them praising a higher power. So, like a god, or giving praise to something else above them, pretty much. That way, it just shows they're more humble, they got more humility, and they're just more down to earth. Less egotistical, thinking they're all this, and just way too big headed. That's probably the best way to put it. So again, this is my experience from what I found spending like I don't know, maybe it's like 15-ish courses, somewhere down those lines, around 15 to 20K. And that's just what I found. Now, if I could go back, this would have saved me so much headache, just so much. You could call them scammers. They're either scammers or they're delusional. They don't see the actual value of their product. Maybe like 10%, I'll say 5 to 10% of the courses that I had were just complete. You can say scams because they were just literally trash. Some of them literally just made it on the spot, no effort, zero effort, and they just give generic advice that they get that was just on YouTube, and they literally the YouTube channel had more value than the actual course. The rest, 70-80%, is it's okay, it's decent, it's good enough, they work, but still there's just a few missing parts, and it just didn't relate. Now keep in mind, I wasn't following this criteria, so I was just buying literally everything and anything I could, trying to just invest in myself. But again, looking back at it, that was a complete stupid move. And you could find those 5 to 10% of a gold gem, of gold mines that will literally just help you. It will just click just like that. Everything will relate, and it will just explain everything perfectly for you. Now this is my stats percentage wise. Maybe it's around 5%, yeah. But with this criteria, I would at least bump this up by like 5 times, maybe 20 to 40%, even 50%, if I follow this criteria, which I do now, or at least I try to, if I don't get carried away.